Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Jill Goodkind. I am a member of the coalition. We're about to get started. First, I just wanted to give you a quick rundown of who the board is going to be. These are very briefly 2 coalition members, followed by the disability study author, some of our very, very special honored guests, and then we're going to do a quick Q&A. So I am very happy to introduce, to start us off, Victoria Zariello. She is a coalition member. She is the Democratic District leader for this area, District 65. She's lived out here 20 years. She's raised her 4 children here. She works at her own law firm. She's a long-time advocate for affordable housing and healthcare for all of us. She's investigated and prosecuted government corruption. She fights for an honest, responsive, and transparent government, and she is an incredible advocate to build a 100% affordable 5 World Trade Center. Victoria Zariello.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you so much. So I am Victoria Fariello. I am a district leader in Lower Manhattan and a candidate for state senate. I'm also a member of the Coalition for 100% Affordable 5 World Trade Center. We're here today to announce the results of a feasibility study on how to make 5 World Trade Center fully affordable housing. In the spring of 2021, Mariama James, Jill Goodkind, and Richard Corman reached out to me as their district leader to ask if I would help with a proposal that would make 5 World Trade Center a fully affordable residential building. I was awed by the idea, and I knew that it was exactly what our neighborhood needed and what 9/11 survivors and first responders deserve. This site sits in a resource-rich neighborhood. We are a walk away from gorgeous parks, excellent schools, a transportation hub, jobs on Wall Street, and our civic center. There simply is no better place to give residents access to access to resources that they would otherwise not have, because they could not afford to live in this neighborhood. This is our last opportunity to give back to 9/11 survivors and first responders who sacrificed so much to help bring back our city and our country after the horrific terrorist attacks of September 11th. Survivors were told it was safe to be here and now suffer horrible diseases attributed to the air they breathed after 9/11, despite being told it was safe to come home. This includes our neighbors in Chinatown, the Lower East Side, and Night Street. We all stayed and helped to rebuild the city where we are now being priced out. I want to thank the many people who have made this possible. I want to start with our steering committee for the Coalition Affordable 5 World Trade Center, Taylor Banning, Richard Corman, Justine Kucha, Todd Fine, Pat Gray, Jill Goodkind, Mariama James, and Carol Lamb. And thank you to Professor Jerrod Delaine for all your work in producing this study. Very special thanks to Welcome to Chinatown and their co-founder, Vic Lee, who helped make this study possible. Thank you to our elected officials who have supported us throughout this effort, especially Representative Jerry Nadler, who has committed to help us obtain any necessary federal funds, to New York State Assembly member Yuling Yu, who has been a strong supporter, to U.S. Representative Carolyn Maloney, who has fought long and hard for our 9/11 survivor and first responders community, fully supports 100% affordability at 5 World Trade Center, to our City Council member, Chris Marte, who has been with us since day one, our Borough President, Mark Levine, who understands the unique opportunity this offers, and to our State Senator, Brian Kavanaugh, who has made himself available to facilitate the ongoing conversations with our state agencies. Thank you also to all the candidates for New York Congressional District 10 who have vocalized their support. What this study shows is that there is a path to making 5 World Trade Center 100% affordable. It really comes down to one thing: having the political will. If we can muster the political will to give $600 million for the Buffalo Stadium, we can certainly make the 5 World Trade Center 100% affordable. It is right, and justice demands it. We hope that all our leaders will see the value and the need to make this happen, to show us their political will. So I'm going to hand it back to Jill. Thank you. Thanks to everyone for being here today.
Thank you, Victoria. It's now a pleasure for me to introduce Coalition member and good friend, Mariama James. Mariama is a community leader, a long-time advocate for children, BIPOC, LGBTQ+, 9/11 survivors, the homeless, the underserved. She was recently recognized by the New York City Council for her work. She's a member of the World Trade Center Registry, the CAP, the World Trade Center Survivors Steering Committee, the World Trade Center Scientific Technical Advisory Committee. She's also co-chair of the Manhattan Community Board 1's Quality of Life Committee and the board's treasurer. Mariama.
Sounded like a lot. Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit today about words like value and cost in the context of inequality as it relates to housing security and race and socioeconomics. My name is Mariama, and I'm Cherokee and Catawba and presumably of African descent. And I'm possibly the only Black lifelong resident of this part of Lower Manhattan of my age, where the site is located. Having moved here in September or October of 1971 when I was only 3 months old. It's funny, odd, and funny concerning to think of myself as possibly a walking, living, breathing static. A Black woman who somehow managed to live and remain in the part of Lower Manhattan, this part of Lower Manhattan, for 51 years and counting through recessions, market crashes, 9/11, Hurricane Sandy, and now the COVID pandemic. This was made possible, at least in part, because I grew up in the state's last Richelama, the last state-owned Richelama complex, co-op complex. Not only in Fidei, or the Seaport area, but in New York State in its entirety. We were the last one to exit the program. But there is no more. Right? Meaning no one else here will ever have a similar opportunity if we don't act now. As of the 2020 U.S. Census, CB1, meaning Fidei, Battery Park City, Fidei is the financial district for those who aren't there. Battery Park City, Tribeca, Seaport, Civic Center, this area, or these areas, 70% white, having grown richer and whiter since the 2010 census. We are now only 4% Black and a mere 1% indigenous. This demonstrates that other housing, whether affordable or not, remains inaccessible to working class people and people of color, a number of which are also 9/11 survivors and area workers suffering with health impacts related to the toxic dust released upon our homes and our offices as a result of the horrific attack on this state and this nation. So a little further about me, I'm also a 9/11 survivor myself, the mother of 3 survivors, daughter of a deceased parent who lost his life to 9/11 related disease, daughter of a stage 4 cancer survivor, 9/11 related cancer survivor. My mother ironically worked at Deutsche Bank, so we're the cyclists. And through those experiences, I know that at least as well as anyone else, what the value of an opportunity to desegregate Community Board 1, to honor 9/11 survivors and first responders for what they've given and continue to give, and continue to lose survivors and responders every day. And to adhere to the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which prohibits segregation of public land. This is public land. This is state-owned land. So to continue on a path where we know is leading us to where the area is growing richer and whiter, means that if we don't act now to do something, when we have a choice, we are making a choice between the value of, or cost of building a 100% affordable residential tower or moving into a time when we are 100% exclusive or 100% rich or 100% black. Thank you.
I am going to introduce one of our extraordinary coalition members who will then introduce author of our study, Jerrod Delaine. Carol Lambert, what can I say? What can I say about Carol Lambert? For 3 decades, Carol served as executive director for Settlement Housing Fund. They were responsible for producing over 8,700 apartments in 55 developments. Carol's testified before legislative bodies, commissions, government agencies. She's drafted amendments to federal, state, and local statutes. She's authored numerous op-ed pieces and articles in the Housing and Architectural Journal, and you may have read her book. Carol's on the board of the National Housing Conference, Citizens Housing and Planning Council, Two Bridges Neighborhood Council, Rockaway Waterfront Alliance. She's a life trustee of the New York Housing Conference. We're so lucky to have her as a member of our coalition. And Carol, if you can kindly come up. So I get to introduce Jerrod. Jerrod Delaine is a housing renaissance man. Not only he's a professor at Pratt and NYU, an experienced real estate developer who has quite a few jobs going on, so he knows firsthand what the costs and all the criteria are for development, management, architecture, and ownership. He's the CEO of Legacy, the development company that he works on, and he has all the educational background, BA in architecture, and lots of work in management, and it's a pleasure. So, yeah, as Jill said, I'm sort of a housing geek, and looked at the way to finance 100% affordable, and then Jerrod came up with ideas that I didn't think of that cost the subsidy much, not half of what I had anticipated. So it's been a pleasure to read his material, and without taking up any more time, Jerrod Delaine.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. Thank you. I would like to extend a special thank you to the Coalition for 100% Affordable 5 World Trade Center. The work you guys are doing is so important to me all. Without your support, the study and the resulting report would not be possible. I was contacted to do a feasibility study to determine how to develop a residential tower at 5 World Trade Center with 100% of the residential units at affordable rents. This is the start of a broader conversation on how to create affordable housing in every city, including the largest and most expensive communities in those cities, as they're the ones with the greatest access to jobs, greatest access to capital, greatest access to education and quality of life resources. Government employees, cops, teachers, and firemen who work in these cities deserve to live in cities with decent homes as well. We believe this particular project should have an additional allocation and preference for 9/11 survivors and first responders. 100% affordable housing on the site is feasible given the following parameters, which is typical for affordable housing development. Number 1, reduced land pricing. Number 2, property tax abatement. And number 3, subsidies. Government subsidies could include capital needed for construction. Also, subsidies can include long-term rental subsidies such as Section 8 in the Department of Housing and Development. If there were ever an opportunity to create something special with affordable housing, this would be it. Here and now, at this location, at the center of the financial capital of the world. It is also the cultural and creative capital of the world. In our report, we explored two options. Option one, maintain the exact same zoning size awarded to the original project, which is roughly an 80-story building. Option two, reduce the zoning to build roughly a 60-story building. We met with a collection of development experts, financial analysts, architects, contractors to get different input and different insight into the assumptions in our model. In summary, both of the options are extremely low income, but both options include low income, moderate income, and some middle income units. Option one has a total of development costs of $1.4 billion. To achieve the necessary equity returns, it requires a $600 million subsidy, or $370,000 per dwelling unit. Option two, the 60-story option, has a slightly lower hard cost because it's a slightly smaller building. This building is an estimated total development cost of $900 million. And to achieve the desired return on investment, it needs a government subsidy of $154 million, or roughly $190,000 per dwelling unit. So for those housing nerds, like Carol says, the typical affordable housing development project in New York today requires about $135 to $200 million per dwelling unit in subsidy. We are anticipating to start that conversation about what subsidies would be needed for this special project. The rest of the capital stack is filled by equity. We believe GP and LP sponsors out there will be interested, in particular pension funds and impact investment funds. The debt will consist of some sort of agency debt such as FHA, Fannie Mae, or Freddie Mac loan. We purposely did not plan to utilize city and state funding, as the current affordable housing pipeline has a significant backlog of deals, most of which consist of LIHTC, taxes and bond deals. Both scenarios that we are proposing in our report require much smaller land costs as a concession from the property owners, which is the government. The task of accomplishing the maximum amount of affordable housing at this location is incredibly difficult to accomplish, but we believe it's a worthy cause that works toward the housing crisis that we see in this city and in major cities across America. We look forward to the lively and productive and important conversation that follows this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Okay. I'm going to bring up Richard Corman, our coalition member, Richard Corman, who is going to introduce some of our very special honored guests. Richard is a member of the Manhattan Community Board 1. He is president of the Downtown Independent Democrats, and he is executive director of the River Project, which is transitioning into the Hudson River Park Project. Richard?
Thank you, Jill. So I have now the honor to introduce a few of our very, very key supporters who've been with us from the beginning and supporters that are now joining us in this fight. We know this is hard and we need all the support we can get, and we're really delighted that people are coming on board and seeing the importance of it. The first person I would like to introduce is our council member, Christopher Marte, again with us from the very, very beginning.
Hi everyone. First of all, I just really want to thank all the work that the coalition has been doing. For almost, I would say more than a year now, they've been listening, putting pen to paper, and doing the work that our state and federal government should have been doing since the very beginning to try to visualize 100% affordability at World Trade Center number 57. I also want to thank the elected officials that have been working with the coalition since the beginning. It's going to take political will to fulfill this. We know that we need subsidies, we need government help, but if we don't have elected officials or candidates, and I'm glad to see Dan Goldman and Mondara Jones here, a representative from Joanne Simon's campaign here, if we don't have their support, this will never be realized. And so for them to come out of the gate and say that they support this project, it's priceless. And so I want to start from the very beginning. After 9/11, when they were looking at what's going to happen in Lower Manhattan, Bloomberg and his team decided that we had to rezone this area to become a residential community. Not a residential community only for the rich, but what they wanted was a mixed-use, truly community in Lower Manhattan to make this a 24/7 neighborhood. And they used the instruments that they had at that time. I disagree with something like 421A, 421G, but that's what they used. And over the years and over the decades, what we've been seeing is that those methods and those instruments that were used to bring affordability to this community are slowly expired. You talk to tenants every single day, say, I have to renegotiate a lease that I got through a government subsidy, and if I don't get it renewed, I won't be able to live here. And so we hear these battles with developers and tenants, and slowly that dream of having a mixed-use community in Lower Manhattan is diminishing. And so when we looked at this project from the beginning, we were like, this is how we visualize that dream. This is the opportunity to make sure that people from every class status, every ethnicity has an opportunity to live in the best part of this country and what it has to offer. And when you look at the price tag, I'm so thankful for the analysis that this coalition has done. But when you look at the price tag, a few $100 million to build housing that will allow education for a student who lives in the outer borough to have a school in Tribeca that is ranked #1 in the city year after year. A parent that can work on Wall Street or the Civic Center without having to commute hours on end. What's the price of that? What's the price of opportunity? And I feel like that's where our state and our federal government has failed. They have failed to imagine, they have failed to put the hard work, and they have failed residents of New York State because they're missing out on this opportunity. And so when the Empire Development Corp and Lower Manhattan Development Corp came to us the first time we had a community meeting, they said all we can do is 25% affordability. And they said they wanted to work with the community, they wanted to work with stakeholders. We saw that as an opportunity. We engaged, we provided testimony, we provided research, and recently, when they came back to us, they just told us the same original plan. The federal government, our state government, wasn't listening to us. Weren't partners in good faith in this, and that's why we need as much political courage and political will from our elected officials to say no to that plan and to support 100% affordability at World Trade Center #5. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. No one could have said it better than you. No one. Thank you. I need to introduce some folks who have been with us right from the beginning, or at least representing those folks. Congressman Jerry Nadler has been with us. He has proposed options for us for funding, and he's written letters that have been instrumental in generating support for this mission. And I want to introduce Hannah Wienerman, who is going to say a few words on the Congressman's behalf.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Hannah Wienerman here at Congressman Jerry Nadler's office. So, first of all, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. To reiterate our support for maximizing affordable housing at 5 World Trade Center. So, the Congressman has represented this community for 20 years. We need to ensure that Lower Manhattan remains a community with housing that families, 9/11 survivors, seniors, students, and workers can not only afford to live in, but thrive in. This is a community made of the best of us. We want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to live and thrive here. I also, as a community liaison, I have the opportunity to meet with community members, meet with coalition members, and I just want from the bottom of my heart to take this moment to acknowledge the work of this coalition. Your ingenuity, your creativity, your fortitude is the reason why we're all here today. And it's with your work and your efforts that we continue to see this project forward. So we, on behalf of Congressman Nadler's office, will do what we can we are interested in continuing the conversation. I'm really excited to look at the feasibility study, and we need to get our world trade 100% affordable. Thank you all.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank the Congressman. You see him? And also supporting us from the very beginning has been our Assembly Member Yuli New, and we have Theo to say a few words on her behalf.
All right. Thank you, everybody. My name is Theo Perez. I'm representing the Office of Assembly Member Yuli New. She couldn't be here today because she's sick, but she is certainly with us here in spirit. All right, so deeply permanent affordable housing, deeply affordable, permanently affordable housing is a dire necessity in Lower Manhattan. All right, look around us and you'll see some of the highest cost of living in the nation. The publicly owned, I'll stress publicly owned, 5 World Trade Center site is the greatest opportunity for a flagship affordable housing development that we have seen in decades. And it could provide fully affordable units for working families, including 9/11 survivors and their descendants. In light of this great need and this tremendous opportunity, our community, as represented through the coalition here, has made it very clear that the proposal that's out there from EDC of 25% affordable is frankly insulting, and it is not adequate to the needs that we have here today. All right, the idea that they want to use these public lands and these massive public subsidies to build what is fundamentally a luxury tower is unacceptable. We are indebted to the 5 World Trade Center Coalition for standing up against them. All right, this coalition has engaged architects, community leaders, local experts, now professors as well, to really brainstorm and come together and creatively think about what an affordable tower could look like, and to prove that it's not a pipe dream, it's feasible, we can do it, and we must do it. All right, it is time for Empire State Development and LMDC to join them in making affordability their chief concern. So thank you all very much. We've been with you from the start, and we look forward to fighting with you until we get the building we deserve.
Thank you, Theo, and give our wishes, our best wishes to Yulene in her speedy recovery. So we're also very honored to have 2 candidates for Congress with us today, actually 3 candidates and representatives for Congress. And I want to introduce Congressmember Mondaire Jones to say a few words, and we're really very grateful for his support.
And I know that when you tell an elected to say a few words, you really mean it, because if you don't, they just go on and on and on. Let me start by saying good morning and thank you to the coalition for the incredible transformative work that you have been doing. Your strategy, your sophistication, your moral clarity, and your hard work has brought us this far. The issue of housing affordability is personal to me. I grew up in Section 8 housing, and I know what it's like to be housing insecure, to wonder whether you'll have a roof over your head moving forward. As has been said earlier today, where there is a will, there is a way. And I am running in part to represent this district because I want to be a partner in the effort to secure deeply affordable housing throughout Lower Manhattan and Brooklyn. In Congress, we've seen that where there is a will, there is a way. I'm proud to have helped pass the American Rescue Plan, for example, which brought billions of dollars for housing in New York City, among other things. And last August, when the rest of Congress had gone on recess, I stayed behind and protested at the Capitol steps with AOC and Cori Bush. So we got the President of the United States to reverse his position and to instruct the CDC to extend its eviction moratorium, which had expired, and put as many as 11 million people at risk of being evicted from their homes. We need that kind of vigilance and aggression, and I'm going to use it. If I'm fortunate enough to get the support of this district, I am going to be an ally in the mold of Jerry Nadler, my colleague and the chair of one of my committees, who has used his bully pulpit, whether it is by writing letters or being at press conferences or calling on local elected officials to do the right thing, and yes, calling on private developers to use their resources to make sure that they ensure that everyone has a high quality, affordable home. That is what I am running to do. Thank you so much, and I will be with you always.
Okay, let me get this down here to where people can read. Thank you, Congressmember Jones, and also with us today, running here in the 10th District as well, is Dan Golden. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Mariama. Thank you to the whole coalition for leading this community in this critical fight for bringing us here today to draw more attention to the need to make 5 World Trade Center 100% affordable. Thank you. None of this would be possible without you. Thank you all very much. On 9/11, I lived just up the street on Hudson Street in the district, in what is now the district. And I will never forget that day. I watched the second plane hit the World Trade Center and sat there gripped to the television in my apartment. I then went outside and greeted my cousin who was working down on Broad Street. His wife was working over there in the World Financial Center. They could not communicate with each other. And he was beside himself as he walked to my apartment. I saw hundreds and hundreds of people walking up Hudson Street covered in soot. And then I remember what Mariama said. They all told us that the site was fine, that there would be no damage if you went down there. And so many Good Samaritans, many first responders went down to Ground Zero, to the rubble site. And we have seen over the last 20 plus years the devastating medical effects and health effects that have occurred because that was not true. The redevelopment, though, of this entire area is an opportunity to show a better path forward for housing development in New York. It's an opportunity to truly reimagine the relationship between public money and private development. What we have here that we're standing on is, in many ways, the ideal future development for the city. We've got public space that we're standing in. We have mass transit that has been redeveloped. We have retail, we have commercial space. But the one thing that we are missing here is affordable housing. And I'm proud to stand here with the coalition today, calling for 5 World Trade Center to be 100% affordable. And it is essential, as I think it is essential with all affordable housing developments, that the first people with access are those most affected by what happened in 9/11, those in the community, and very importantly, the first responders and their legacy. But the state should not bear full cost for this development in order to make it fully affordable. We cannot look at 5 World Trade Center in a vacuum. It must be considered with the whole development of the World Trade Center, which has developed because of federal bonds and government subsidies. But the partnership between the World Trade Center developers and our government must include the developers paying their fair share for affordable housing. This is how we reimagine development in this city, and we solve the affordable housing crisis. This right here can be the example that we use throughout this city. Our district here can be the leader in reimagining affordable housing development and development generally in this city. This way, everybody wins, and everyone gets lifted up a little bit more. I'm proud to stand in solidarity with the coalition, and I look forward very much to carrying on Congressmember Nadler's support and commitment to this project and this district. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. And I want to acknowledge one more person, Assembly Member Joanne Simon, who was not able to make it today. We have a representative of hers. Thank you for joining us, Justin. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Jill Goodkind.
All right. Thank you, Richard, and thank you to our honored guests, our candidates, our electeds. Your support means everything to us. So we're ready to take some questions. Maybe I can get our coalition members up here, especially Professor Carol. All right, so if you have a question, if you could state your name and the outlet. Yes.
Hi, Matthew. I work for the Broadsheet.
Okay.
The history of public land being used to create housing. You look at Co-op City, you look at Battery Park City. The land went for free to the state agency. You know, very generously, your plan contemplates some payment. What about zero payment? This is public land. It's owned by. It should just go. Wouldn't that would be an imputed subsidy? But wouldn't that make this thing much easier to do?
Would save some money. We don't have a huge land cost in Jerrod's models, but my idea, I think zero is a beautiful idea. What do you think?
I agree. Zero cost for land is not crazy. There's often RFPs in New York City where land is given away for $0 or $1.
We bought 14 burnt out buildings in the Bronx that have thrived for 40 years, and we paid $5 for the property.
Follow-on question. Isn't there something nutty and actually a corrupt moral hazard behind the idea that when this is developed, it has to make as much money as it possibly can? In other words, you're doing all these backflips, God bless you, to adhere to that standard, but it's bad policy from the word go. It's crippling the idea that, in other words, you have to run around the block 7 times and stand on your head to make this work. Wouldn't a better policy be a better solution?
That's the ideal.
So I don't have access to the original plan, but typically development is done based on pricing of debt and return on investment with equity, typically. So investors, developers make their decision on if they're going to pursue a project, if they can invest capital and get a return on that capital. And affordable housing has, developer fees and different kind of strategies to incentivize private capital to come in and solve that problem of housing.
But in your most optimistic scenario, it's low 6 figures per dwelling, between 100 and 200,000, right? You did a couple of.
That's the subsidy.
The subsidy.
As a total development cost, yes.
Does that subsidy go down to 0 or 10,000 or 50,000 if the land were free?
No. So it would so in the model we have land costs at $10 a square foot, which is very low. The entire project for option 2 is $900 million. So that land cost number is actually, I don't know, maybe 5% of the development cost. It's a very small number.
Given the history of 421G, which appears to have been a straight up ripoff, like people didn't get the affordability they were supposed to get. 421A, which was at best a mixed success. Is this a continuation of that policy that historically just does not deliver affordability?
It's always a stress to figure out the ideal and to see what can be done, and neither is a walk in the park, a beautiful park. But I had a model that called for a 501c3 bond that was about 2 or 3 times the cost of what Jerrod's brilliant models were, and what he's asking for is what a normal affordable housing, the subsidy, a normal affordable housing. And this is the beginning of a discussion, but it's an important discussion, and as everybody said here, the political will to make it happen and all the support we can get. I don't want to talk too much. Yeah, okay, and you can catch up with us afterwards. I'm just going to, any other questions? Yes. Oh, and it's Kristen from Al Jazeera. Thank you, Kristen.
In the current plan?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
With the current plan, how much assistance are they getting to develop this luxury town?
We haven't been seeing all the details. We know that they are saying the subsidy is free, but we don't know. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, I'm Joe Lovinger with The Real Deal. Can you hear me from here?
Maybe if you come a little closer. Thank you, Joe.
Don't want to block the cameras either. So obviously this is very valuable land. Was there any consideration given to the idea of like selling it and using that money to build units, affordable units where they might not be so expensive to build?
That was done for Battery Park when we rebuilt the Bronx, but the idea of the city's plan and all the research is that you have to have affordable. You know, if you sell the land, who knows what the highest bidder could use it for a casino. But I think this is the highest and best use when the value created some benefit versus families and 9/11 victims and the population that really needs the housing and a diverse population. Yeah.
So to answer that, this is the place that you want affordable housing. So this is part of the one of the huge values of this is that this is a resource-rich neighborhood. So we want to this is a place where we want to give people the opportunity they wouldn't otherwise have. And I also just want to go quickly to Kristen's point. So it's Brookfield and Silverstein are those whose RFP has been being considered right now. They have received billions of dollars in subsidies at this site. So you look around, these are all Silverstein and Brookfield. So they have received quite a bit already in subsidies. Whether or not they'll be getting subsidies here, we don't know because we haven't seen the information.
I just wanted to add to your question. The premise of our mission is to build the affordable housing here. It would be defeatist to build it in another location. But the reason being, again, because people who live and some that work here are the people who returned to this area after 9/11 or who remained here during the aftermath of 9/11 or who moved here soon after and rebuilt the neighborhood. This is our neighborhood. This is our property. So to build it somewhere else and to ask those people to move to another neighborhood of the outer boroughs, thanks for what you did, but now we're taking this, is defeatist to say the least. I don't want to go on.
I'll add one more thing. Part of the vision of this project is to create, as they said, affordable housing, economic diversity, as well as cultural diversity here. Not to place it somewhere else, which, yes, there's cheaper land costs in other places, but then you have this kind of segregation thing that, like, yeah, we build it all over here, and other communities get to opt out of it. Part of the idea is all our communities should figure out how do we create more diversity in each of the communities. That's part of the vision.
Do we have any other questions? I know you have questions. All right. I think just to end this time-wise, that Richard's going to give us some closing remarks.
Thank you, Jill. And and Carol. I need to say something as well to that question from The Real Deal. You heard it very well from those who responded, but it's just important to understand that I myself grew up in New York. I'm a New Yorker by birth. I love this city, and why do I love this city? Because it is diverse, because it has been. Every part of it that I've lived in has always been diverse, and we are losing that. And the mission here is to ensure that that doesn't continue in this part of New York. So yes, we need affordable housing here. We need diversity here. And that's what this mission is all about. Now I need to thank everyone here for joining us. It's really great to see you and to see the support that we have and that we're continuing to build. I want you all to look for just a moment right over there, because that's the site. 5 World Trade Center is right there. And imagine a building 60 stories tall, 90 stories tall, with affordable housing for people all across the city, but for first responders and 9/11 survivors as well. And a transformation of this neighborhood that something like this can bring. It will take imagination, it will take work, it will take cooperation from all of the people in this community, as well as the agencies that have the responsibility of developing this. And we have been working with those agencies for the last year. They think they did a great job by 25% affordable housing in the proposal that they have. And you know, give them credit for putting something there. But we know it's not good enough. We appreciate that they've continued to work with us, and we appreciate that Senator Kavanaugh has helped facilitate those meetings, but we're going to continue to work with them. That is our goal. We think that they will support that goal. At least we're hoping that's the case. We have a study here that is a path forward that can allow us to explore options, and if there's will and if there's commitment to doing this, we can make this happen. And so thank you all for coming, and have a great afternoon.
All right, thank you. And just to close, I want to give a shout out to the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey police. Thank you. You guys are awesome, and you make